I wonder if they will be divided on how close the Packers are to the teams that will be representing the conferences in a couple of weeks. The Packers played the Eagles twice this season. The outcome was the same in both games. But if you compare the Eagles franchise to the Packers franchise head-to-head, the Eagles have made their third Super Bowl since 2017. Green Bay Packers have not. Green Bay Packers famously have not been in the Super Bowl since the 2010 season. What's the difference? Why are the Eagles having so much success and the Packers coming up short? Chew, what does your gut tell you about the biggest difference between the Packers of the last decade or so and the Eagles of the last decade or so?
Front office. Packers miss on too many picks. I mean, I don't know. What's the running count now with defensive guys drafted over the last X amount of years, Gabe?
It's a lot.
It's quite high.
Yeah.
How many do they hit on? Not a lot.
Not as many as he'd like.
Not a lot. And I think that's the difference. It kind of catches up with you, especially with first-round picks, Because Ron, I mean, you go back to Ron, and he missed on some first-round picks pretty big. But Ron made up for it in the mid and later rounds, I mean, when you get third, fourth, fifth round, sixth round picks, eighth round picks that turn into be starters, that's how you build a team. But I really think it's the front office. It's just they need more players. They need more players. Need more A players. And I think Philadelphia has them, and that's why they've been so successful. I mean, they had 460 yards in this game. They're a machine.
They've got Philly's got like this interesting history in terms of the draft where they kind of mix in these top 10, top 15 picks. Like they haven't been like the Packers where the Packers are just kind of consistently good, and rarely are the Packers in that position to draft a lot of these top tier guys toward the front half. Where, I mean, the Eagles have had, it's been a little hit or miss, right? Like, I mean, the Super Bowl they went to in 2017, it was a completely different crew, completely different head coach, completely different quarterback, and even their backup quarterback's the one who won them that Super Bowl, and they had to go through a reboot in order to get to where they are now with Jalen Hurts and Nick Sirianni and all the turmoil that Sirianni has brought on them as a head coach as well. But to Chewy's point, they're just they're more aggressive in acquiring a lot of the talent. Like you think about Saquon Barkley, how aggressive they were there. We're very fortunate that the Titans decided that A.J. Brown wasn't worth paying, so they go out and get one of the best receivers in football a couple of years ago and give him a big new deal when he was on the last year of his contract. Devontae Smith was a first-round pick that they were able to hit on. Their offensive line, they've hit on all those picks. You look at what they have on their defense, Chew, they've been able to hit on those first-round picks. And even just this year, with they've got two guys who are finalists for Defensive Rookie of the Year in Quinyon Mitchell and Cooper DeJean. So they have hit on a lot of those picks, but they've also been more aggressive when those opportunities exist to go grab those players.
Another thing you look at yesterday is you have two tight ends that are on the backside of their career, right? Backside, Ernst and Goddard. Ernst had 11 catches for 104 yards.
Yep.
And then Goddard had 7 for 85. They clearly went into that game and said, okay, the tight end's going to be a big part of the game plan here. And that's what we're kind of waiting for with Tucker Kraft. Yes, we know he's good. Use him. Elevate him to an A player, not just a B player. This whole shared, I don't want to get him mad, so let's give him 5 targets. And, he might get mad, so take your 4 best players, get them the damn ball, develop them, and move on.
But the Commanders spread the ball around. The Eagles playing the Commanders yesterday. The Eagles spread the ball around. I mean, Saquon Barkley is going to be the focal point of that offense, but Jalen Hurts made a lot of great throws yesterday, too. For everybody out there who has been critical of Jalen Hurts, saying that he is not a top-tier quarterback, his accuracy has improved throughout his career, and I think he's been playing some of his best football this season. So what I was saying to you guys in the production meeting this morning is, why can't the Packers follow this blueprint? that the Eagles have laid down, which is Saquon Barkley is obviously the straw that stirs the drink, right? So you are going to focus on him, and yet somehow the Eagles still manage to get Smith involved, get Brown involved, get all of these other players involved. Joshy, does it not seem like a way that you could sort of cater your offense to follow that blueprint?
Yeah, I mean, they present it interesting because Jalen Hurts is more mobile, uses his legs more. On the outside, they are better than the Packers would be with two top-end talents. And then Saquon Barkley is sort of one of one in the NFL right now, really only compared to Derrick Henry. You have the best offensive line to match with that and a fairly talented tight end. Like, where they are is largely because they've hit their draft picks, and then when the opportunity to be aggressive presents itself, Roseman takes the chance and most often hits on it. Like, we can be critical of the Giants letting Saquon Barkley go, but what are they going to do with Saquon Barkley? Have 4 wins instead of 3? Like, what does that really matter to them? It's just being aggressive when you have the right pieces. They got Jalen Hurts, young, who's building a career. They built around him and said, this is our time. And they went all in, and they've been all in. And then you match in getting a top 3 draft pick in Jalen Carter and getting him at the 9th overall pick.
So are we all in agreement then that the biggest difference between what the Eagles are doing and what the Packers have done is their picks? Is that they've been more aggressive in free agency and the Packers have not hit on their draft picks? Because I've got the Eagles list here. I've got the Eagles draft list in front of me, and it is one hit, 1 star after another, especially at the top. You mentioned Quinyon Mitchell. You mentioned Cooper DeJean. They've also got Jeremiah Trotter out of this last draft class. I'm not ready to put a grade on that draft class yet, but it is certainly trending in the right direction. Jalen Carter, Nolan Smith, that from the previous, those are the top 2 picks, both first rounders. We saw what Jalen Carter can do. You know, he's a menace. Jordan Davis, Nakobe Dean, Devontae Smith we mentioned as their first rounder. Like, it just feels like they have had more success with their top draft picks than the Packers can claim currently. Is that a fair statement to make, Gabe?
Yeah, I think that's fair. But yeah, it's the reason why I don't look at this as a blueprint for the Packers is because they just have too many stars. Like, the Packers don't have that type of star power.
What I'm saying is, can you start going out and getting it? Obviously, when Goody makes a pick, he hopes that those people will become stars. And I know that's part of the reason why he continues to draft Georgia football players, because they had success at the highest level in college. So theoretically, that would translate to the NFL. In a weird twist of fate, the Eagles picks from Georgia have all panned out. It's like Goody picked the wrong guys from Georgia or something. Howie gets the good ones and he gets the we'll see ones.
Yeah, but again, it's about where are you drafting these guys? Jalen Carter fell to 9. Jordan Davis was 13. Like, these guys are in the top half of the draft. Like, there's a difference between guys taken in the first half of the first round and guys taken in the second half of the first round, the Packers are typically drafting. And
well,
yes, in those opportunities that they've had in the first half, they haven't hit those. Whether it's Chmura, Van Ness, whether it's Quay Walker, like those guys, they just haven't hit on when they've been in those spots when they've had those opportunities.
Yeah, but they're supplementing. They do a good job supplementing their draft picks with trades. I mean, don't forget Darius Slay. He was a trade from Detroit. He's a hell of a corner. You know, you said A.J. Brown, and you said, was Saquon? That wasn't a trade.
That was free
agent, right? Mm-hmm. But they do a nice job. They do a real nice job. Shoot, we talked on this show during the draft. Hey, what about Cooper DeJean? Right? Mm-hmm. And then he passes on him. Kid's a hell of a player. Yeah. Going to be a Pro Bowl player, you know? Lucas Van Ness was the 13th pick of the draft.
Yep.
You're drafting a guy who didn't even start in college? That's a good trend to start.
Well,
let's do that again this year.
So Jordan weighing in on the Carbless Talking text line, guys. Jordan in the 603. It comes down to the GM, of course. Goody thinks he's smarter than every other GM in the league, thinks he can find a hidden gem in the draft, and refuses to go with the obvious pick. Usually it's a fan favorite, while the Eagles don't overthink it, and their drafts have hit more frequently. Is that fair, Joshy?
No, it's not. I think you... Like, if Goody had pick number 9 and Jalen Carter's there, he probably makes it. Like, there's certain opportunity.
I don't know about that. I think the Packers shy away from character, quote unquote, questions.
I think that's antiquated. They used to do that. I don't think they are that much way anymore. They have guys in there who have, like, what's his name? DeEnd, who ended up playing, he had character concern issues after they traded Preston Smith.
Angabare?
Brenton Cox Jr.
Oh, Brenton Cox Jr.
Also, didn't Aaron Jones get suspended from his school and have to transfer, or was that Jamal Williams?
That was one of the two.
Yeah. So like those things have happened. Now Carter is like there's deaths involved there. That's a whole different realm. But like you just draft you had to take good guys. I don't know. What do you mean he thinks he's smarter? Like he has a type. They draft that type. It's worked. The Packers are continually successful. They don't have great players. Like Jordan Morgan was a fit because they were weak at that. We saw how weak they were at offensive line depth. They probably didn't take Cooper DeJean largely because they thought they had their slot in Keyshawn Nixon, and they paid him to do that. And then Cooper DeJean was there, and it's like, well, maybe you should just be drafting the good football players. Maybe you should not overthink it, but like, good is not bad.
No,
I don't
he's
think
not
that's
bad.
fair.
No.
He's just not great right now, and hasn't been.
Well,
2 of his drafts have been great, though.
Well, that's what I'm saying. The last 2 drafts have been pretty
Yes.
good, and maybe they hit a third in a row. Because again, you go back and what did they do in 2020? They drafted Jalen Reagor in the first round.
Yeah, which was a terrible.
He might not be in the NFL right now.
So it's not like their last few have hit. The Packers' last few have hit. If they can supplement this draft, hit it again like they have the last couple of years, and then supplement with a key trade, big free agent acquisition, they might be able to kind of up them to where they need to be in terms of the talent that they need to compete with the Eagles, the talent they need to compete with those two teams that we're playing over in the AFC. But, I mean, if you can do all of that, great. To me, this all comes down to, can Jordan Love take the step to the next level? Because when you watch the quarterback play yesterday, it was functioning at a very high level. Like, yes, some of those guys have weapons around them, like we just discussed with the Eagles. Terry McLaurin's pretty good for the Washington Commanders. But all of those quarterbacks, I mean, the best weapon for the Buffalo Bills is a running back in James Cook. Like, their wide receivers.
And Josh Allen,
exactly.
from an
That's what I'm
offensive
saying,
standpoint.
for Josh Allen.
I mean, with his legs.
Yes, but still, like, it's not like Josh Allen has all this talent around him. I would say the wide receivers for Buffalo, pretty comparable to what the Packers have. But Josh Allen is just so damn good that he takes that rest of that roster to an AFC Championship game and has the ball with a chance to tie or take the lead with under 2 minutes left. So Jordan Love needs to start elevating his game as well. Maybe it was part of the injuries this year and he didn't run as much, because that was certainly a big part of the game plan for all 4 of those quarterbacks yesterday, running when those options were presented to you. If Jordan Love elevates his game, that's the biggest thing. Look at that Commanders roster isn't very good. Jane Daniels just that damn good, and he took him to an NFC Championship game.
If you want to talk about that 2020 draft class, which you mentioned, and Jalen Reagor, the reason people forget about that is because they also drafted Jalen Hurts in the second round.
Laughed at.
Which was laughed at.
He was a running back that they had their quarterback. What are they doing? Why would they do that? Oh, now he's in another Super Bowl.
That guy's a 4th-round pick. What are you taking him in the second round for? That was
Gabe,
the reaction
from
when
a
he was
roster
taken.
standpoint, you don't think the Packers are that far from the Washington Commanders? I mean, it feels like they're very far from where the Eagles are. When you look at the Eagles roster and you look at the playmakers out on the field yesterday, it's stud, 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 stud. I don't know that you can do that with the Packers right now. You hope there's potential. Maybe you have some studs out there. Josh Jacobs looks like a stud.
Yeah. Well, but I mean, Quinyon Mitchell and
but
Cooper
there is even a disparity between where Josh Jacobs is right now and where Saquon Barkley is right now.
But, I mean, like, guys like Quinyon Mitchell and Cooper DeJean, who we're calling studs now, weren't studs when they took the field in Brazil. They were like, hey, these guys were some good draft picks. Maybe they develop, right? And that certainly helped. Now, again, the Eagles have a lot of established guys, whether it's Barkley, whether it's Brown, whether it's Dallas Goedert, whether it's Devontae Smith. Like, they have a lot of those weapons, and I don't think the Packers can match that. But certainly I think you can get better quarterback play than what the Eagles get if Jordan Love continues to develop. That's the biggest thing for the Packers, to me, is that the easiest way, the quickest way to get to where you want to go is have Jordan Love play like he's an elite quarterback. Get him to that top level that he needs to be at. And if he's not, it's going to be tough for you to get to an NFC Championship game. It's going to be tough for you to get to another Super Bowl unless your quarterback is one of the best in the league.
But the problem with next year is the receiver free agent class stinks.
Correct.
It's terrible. So you're banking on what? Drafting a guy in the first and second round that's going to have an amazing rookie year?
It's going to be tough.
Isn't it right in front of us? Guys are available. We've been talking about them.
Who's available?
Go get Max Crosby. Go get Miles Garrett.
I'm talking receivers. I'm talking from the receiver
I was just,
standpoint.
yeah, okay, I gotcha.
Because you see what – I mean, there's still an element of Jamaican tank here, right? I mean, Philly was so good yesterday because they put up 460 yards of offense. You know? And I did the Packers even have 400 yards this year?
Yeah, they had.
You know? I think offense eventually is going to win you the ball games, and that's why, 6-7 games in, I was like, I don't think they can win a shootout because they can't put up 470 yards of offense and just can't do it. So, I'm very reserved about next year because what's in the kitty?
A lot of money.
It's rolling back the same thing.
Got a lot of money in that kitty. Be aggressive with it.
And I noticed nobody mentioned coaching in this whole thing. Is there any part of any fans out there who think that there is a disparity in the coaching? The coaches, look, Andy Reid is great. Andy Reid is probably the best current coach in the league. So we're not saying that Matt LaFleur is in Andy Reid's category in his stratosphere right now. But was there a big difference between what you saw from Sirianni? Was there a big difference from what you saw from some of the other coaches who were out there in the championship weekend? So you've got players, which is 𝘃𝘃, I suppose. It's 𝘃𝘃 obtaining the ingredients for the stew. You've got the guy making the soup in LaFleur. And then you've got Jordan Love, who I think we are all in agreement needs to step up, needs to play better, needs to look more like the quarterbacks that were out there this past weekend, whether that's Jaden Daniels, whether that's Jalen Hurts, whether it's the two guys who were in the AFC Championship game who we have watched year in and year out. Chew, I want to talk to you when we get back after this break. What is it for Jordan Love? Where do you need to see him make the biggest leap between this season and next season to close the gap between the Green Bay Packers and the teams who were representing their respective conferences yesterday on the field? That's next on Jen, Gabe, and